Hey everyone, Dr. Ryan Wakeham here, successful entrepreneur and your endgame coach. I'm here to talk to you today about the definition of an endgame. I've been working for years with patients and clients on defining end goals, a vision statement, agreements, kind of the rules of the road or the rules of engagement in order to get you to this end game. Defining end game is pretty important, and that is unique for every person, every patient, every client. What derives value and where someone wants to be in the future can be wildly different from person to person, client to client. What is important to understand, though, is when you define your end game, that may hold value in terms of a place. It might hold value in terms of a timeline. And for some, especially entrepreneurs or the business folk, so to speak, that might end up being a financial motivation or of financial motivation. So it's not uncommon when I'm talking to successful entrepreneurs or potential business clients. The definition of end game often involves not just a timeline, not just a certain vision, but frankly, a financial outcome. And so the question I often pose is, what is holding you up? What is between you and your defined end game, which for many is a multi-million-dollar exit, 7, 8, 9 figures plus. And the reality is, if you love what you do and you do it well, and you kind of fill that void quickly and eloquently in terms of what a consumer might want or need, you can create a lot of value that snowballs on itself and allows for you to achieve, again, a multi-million-dollar exit. One of the best ways to do that, one of the best ways to create the road or the pathway through which you can achieve such a thing is through being present today. You hear me talk about it a lot around health set and mindset. Again, having a really fine-tuned, well-developed mindset is critically important in being successful. The best players in the world, the best athletes in the world have coaches. Tiger Woods during his heyday had a coach. And he had a coach not because he wasn't supremely talented already, but because even the best of the best need assistance with refocusing mindset, refocusing goals, and refocusing towards an end game. And so, as I've talked about as a psychiatrist, and one of the teachings I've really held near and dear to my heart and incredibly important in terms of mindset is this ability to be present today. You have to exist today. You have to be in the moment now in order for you to truly be successful the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, the next decade, depending on what your timeline, your goal might be. So understanding how to be present, how to be mindful, how to put yourself into the moment and not get overly distracted with social media, with the shiny toys, with the bright lights. Not everyone has ADHD. There's a certain amount of where society and our external environments draw our attention in this day and age. And this idea of multitasking is a farce. There's no such thing as multitasking. You're just capable of shifting focus quickly back and forth if you're truly good at quote unquote multitasking. And even those who are really good at multitasking are actually still less effective and efficient than if you just focus on the here and now, focus on what's right in front of you, and focus on executing upon that before you try to shift to something else. And in spite of knowing that, and in spite of knowing the evidence and the studies, and in spite of being someone who's honed presence and mindfulness over well over a decade, there's still many times where I find myself getting distracted. And one of the best ways to practice this day in and day out so that you get really good at being focused on what's in front of you today is journaling. We talk about journaling a lot in the mental health profession. If you're ever in a group setting, you might be given a journal. If you do work with Tony Robbins, you have a journal. The point is, a goal is just a dream until you put it down on paper and you put a plan against it in terms of execution, right? So you can't have an end game, you can't have success unless you're focusing your attention on goals, and those goals are known, defined, and achievable. And so journaling is critically important. David Meltzer talks about this. Again, Tony Robbins is a big believer in this. Really, a lot of the personal development, leadership, entrepreneurial thought leaders talk about journaling, writing it down, even if that goal is audacious, even if it seems completely beyond comprehension or reach. By journaling, by putting it down, you are better able to focus your attention on it day in and day out in achieving that goal. Even if you need to chunk it down, even if you have a super crazy audacious goal, but then under that you set smaller goals or steps of goals to get you to that end point, to get you to that end game. Having those written down, reminding yourself every day, being present in the moment with a focus on a goal is much more likely to create the snowball effect, the momentum, the energy shift towards what it is you want, not away from what it is you fear. So if I had to impart any bit of information to you today around how to achieve an end game, especially one that might be a multi-million-dollar exit, it is to write down today, to get specific and focused on goals, to forget about the concept of multitasking, and be super planful, super energized, and super focused on how to achieve those goals here and now, day to day, week to week, year to year. Again, I'm Dr. Ryan Wakeham, successful entrepreneur and your end game coach. I'm here to teach you how to exist today, including journaling, so that you can expand tomorrow and create the ultimate end game of your wildest desires. Talk to you soon.